I get the genuine feeling I'm about to get a shit ton of slack for this. But, how do I put this? Right. So, this is going to take a minute for me to just sort of explain to you because, again, I kind of need to just break things down, right? Because I have to break, right? I need to make this exceptionally simple for everybody to understand. Because apparently whenever I speak, people don't listen. So I always have this Thomas Shelby moment of what do I have to do to make people listen to me? Now again, do I mostly come out with the biggest amount of shit? Yes, I do. I'm not complaining. Dude, I play so many different games. It's rare for me to make videos like this whenever I'm directly talking to you guys and trying to explain my point, right? But anyway, an argument has blown way far out of proportion, and I think it's, who's it with? Hang on, let me see. This argument has blown so far out of proportion that this dude he has come after me with such fervor and derangement at this stage that it is borderline holy fuck to me, right? Now again, I'm having a laugh. I love it. Look, guys, I love a good debate as much as the next person, right? But every time I speak, people just ignore what I say. So this time, I'm going to come at this from your point of view. Now, I haven't actually explained what the fuck I'm even getting into. Long story short, this entire argument started over the Dragonborn versus the Chosen Undead, right? I keep saying that the Chosen Undead wins by a slim margin, but I've actually found a lot more. A lot more. So, bear with me, please, because I am getting irate at this point, because again, people don't listen to me. Right, on the other hand, right, this guy, his name is, if you find, you'll find him on my YouTube, right, he normally comments on everything that is Elder Scrolls related, right, and basically, he's having a go at me, right, and I'm having a jolly good laugh at him, right, because he's really going in on me in this, so he is, and he keeps saying that I'm not using facts and yada yada yada, but I keep saying this here, right? Because he doesn't listen to me. So he doesn't, because he actually went at me, right? So this is what was this the last comment he said? No, that's not the last comment he posted. Found it, right? This is the comment that he says, dude, you're one of these people who say they've researched the Elder Scrolls, but in all actuality, you didn't. The entirety of your channel is nothing but a pure joke. Is nothing but a joke. Nothing more but a joke. Also, I ignored everything you say, dude. You're the one who's been ignorantly ignoring everything I've been saying. I haven't. I have actually been answering your questions point for point. So I have people. That's always been a common argument too, though, is people seem to think that I'm ignoring their answers, but I'm not ignoring them. I'm taking them on and then giving you exactly how it counteracts. So, but anyway, you're just nothing more than an arrogant Elder Scrolls downplaying prick. And again, where's your evidence that saying Dark Souls beats the Elder Scrolls? You're nothing but a failure who's already lost this argument. So do yourself a favor, take your L with some dignity. Okay, right, so let's just break that down real quick. I've never downplayed the Elder Scrolls. If nothing more, I have now really understood the Elder Scrolls thanks to this, because this has been a rabbit hole I've been down for probably the better part of about 3 years. So I'm down this rabbit hole, so I know a hell of a lot more than what I did back then. So again, these videos are fucking 2 years old at this rate. You know what I mean? Give me time to learn, and then I will give you my perspective. It's all a part of it. It's all a part of it. So it is. But yes, and then apparently I've been ignorantly ignoring downplaying prick. Give me Edmonds says Dark Souls beats the Elder Scrolls. I never once fucking said that the Elder Scrolls would not destroy Dark Souls. I have never once said that. So where are you getting your information from, dude? No. Like, and if I did say it, I apologize. It's not how this works. Like, just genuinely the arguments, like, my entire argument, my only fucking argument, I've only brought up 2 specific arguments, right? These 2 arguments are as follows. The Chosen Undead I think back in the 2 years ago, Chosen Undead solidly won, right? Now it's a case of, it's more of a 55-45, but it's 55 in the Chosen Undead's direction. That's my point. It's in the Chosen Undead's direction, right? Now, taking that into consideration, right? Where was I going with this? Alright. And then so there's that argument, and then the second argument was the Doomslayer sweeps. The Doomslayer completely sweeps the Elder Scrolls. Now, I'm going to explain why this is the case. Now, once I explain the Chosen Undead situation, then that will make sense for whenever I bring up the Doomslayer later on in the video. I haven't actually started the video. The entire start of this video has just been a bloody rant. So it has. But I do want to get into it, right? So, again, I've been down the rabbit hole. I understand the different layer. I understand a lot more than I actually give credit for. I understand a lot more now than I did back then, right? Again, like the Thuum, you've got the Thuum. I've got notes here. You've got the Thuum. You've got the Pankroto sword, which is the Red Guard's version of it. You've got Chim, which is understandable. You've got the Tars, which maintains reality. I know all of this. I've got notes. I've notes, right? Now again, right? I understand how this all works. So I now have a general idea of how this all works. Like, for example, as says, you've got the Thuum, which is tonal architecture. Technically, so I understand now that there's a debate within the Elder Scrolls universe of whether or not tonal architecture is magic or it is tonal architecture. The Thuum is one of those 2 things, but magic, I think the argument is always magic is magic. So does it do something that is magic is basically doing something that is impossible, or doing something that is impossible, right? So that's the idea of what magic is. So using that understanding, then technically they're both technically the same. Tonal architecture and magic are kind of hand in hand, but there is a bit of an argument there. I know there's an argument in that between the actual Elder Scrolls community itself. That is a debate, right? That's what it is, right? Then you've got the Red Guard's sword cutting. That's more or less just a bit. Best way to describe it is fucking Atomic Samurai from One Punch Man. That's basically the best way I can describe it. Then you've got the Chim, which is a really interesting one because basically the entire Elder Scrolls lore is... The entire Elder Scrolls is a dream. Now again, there is a cop-out. I think this is probably why people think that Elder Scrolls is the strongest, but it's kind of a cop-out at the same time, but I'll explain that in a bit. So you have the Chim. So Elder Scrolls exists within a dream state. So Elder Scrolls universe itself is a dream, right? And within said dream, if you realize that the dream doesn't exist, you'll zero sum yourself. So basically you don't exist. If you realize it's a dream, you don't exist. Because you have to maintain your sense of self to maintain yourself in the dream. But as long as you stay sort of ignorant to that fact, you're okay. There has been 2 characters that have achieved the state of Chim, which is, or Chim, whichever way you want to pronounce it, right? Which is Vivek and Talos, or Talos being Tiberseptum? Tiberseptum, that is correct, right? These 2 characters have achieved Chim, so they have. Now, how they achieved Chim, which is basically lucid dreaming. Basically, you are the editor of the dream. You can control the dream itself, so you can, because they have egos and wills so strong. I wonder did anybody catch that? That they were able to do something very specific, which is the Numendinium, right? The Numendinium are the brass god, right? The brass god basically shouts erasure, as in, no, you do not exist, right? And because if it says you don't exist and you don't have the heart or the will or the ego to withstand that no, you get erased. Goodbye. Good luck. You're gone. You never existed in any timeline. You're just gone, right? Now, here's the thing, right? So you have to be able to say, to that no, you have to be able to say, I am, right? That's what you have to have the sense of self, the ego and the will to say, I am to the nomendidium, and that gives you a state of chim. So it is. That's how that works, right? Again, this is complete existence erasure the nomendidium has, right? So again, you have the chim, you've got the nomendidium, you've got Elder Scrolls. The Elder Scrolls are basically every possible story that could ever possibly exist until a prisoner does something. So, for example, the Oblivion Crisis. You have the Hero of Kvatch. For example, you've got the Skyrim story, the Return of Alduin. You've got the Dragonborn. These two characters are specifically prisoners, right? These prisoners are fated to no matter what win, right? So I understand that, right? That's, again, I've been doing research, so I have, right? Then you've got the four towers, which basically hold up reality. So there's not really much need to go through that there, because in the context that we are talking, they are an irrelevance to it. They're a piece of Skyrim's lore, but they are an irrelevance to what I'm specifically gunning at, basically, right? So there's that, right? Now, big thing with this is the fact that there is one very, like, how do you put this, right? So I've discovered that Skyrim works, or not Skyrim, just Elder Scrolls in general, works on a very different level to most other games, right? But the thing is, though, is the fact that there is contextual pieces of information that are there's contextual pieces of information within Elder Scrolls that is very unique. So it is, because in all of the research that I have done, there is there's little pieces that sort of make a lot of sense. So there's little caveats, right? Because I understand that a lot of people have been researching Elder Scrolls lore for the longest time, right? But what I have found funny is nobody ever found the weakness to Elder Scrolls. So they didn't. Nobody ever really found the weakness to Elder Scrolls. I believe I have found the weakness. Now, in saying that, though, that can be a little bit... Yeah, look, let's be honest, a lot of people's not going to believe me, but once you hear what I have to say, you'll probably hate me for it, right? So, I've spent the better part of 15 minutes sort of explaining myself in such a way. So I have, because the way that this works is I needed to lay the groundwork to make my following points more relevant. Does that make sense, right? I hope it does, because the next part's going to be a pain. You already seen this coming. I'm going to bring up the Chosen Undead versus the Dragonborn now. You already seen this coming, to be fair. You seen it coming, right? But right, let me get up my notes, right? So I done a lot of sort of, you know what I mean. I done a lot of research onto things, and I'm just scrolling through my notes here. So I found a lot of things that really sort of, it kind of ties in quite a lot, right? So with everything that I now know, between the Chim, the Nomendidium, the Dragonborn, the Thu'um, all of this, right? With all of this information, right, I have discovered that the Chosen Undead specifically is a categorical fucking nightmare for the Elder Scrolls as a whole, right? Now, people are very going, you're wrong, right? I learned a lot about Dark Souls as well. So, yes, the first thing that I want to get out of the way, because this is a big argument going forward, right? And that there's the first flame, right? The first flame, because Death Battle done this, right? Death Battle basically erased the first flame. Now, funnily enough, a lot of lore historians that have commented on my channel, again, thank you for the information. A lot of people that commented and says, oh yeah, this is fine, this works, yep, perfect, it works every time. But it doesn't. The Dragonborn fundamentally should not destroy the first flame on a conceptual level. Why? Because in that state he would end up deleting himself. Why? Because the first flame is the concept. The first flame is the concept of disparity. Hot, cold, light, dark, mortal, god. What's the Dragonborn, guys? The Dragonborn is a mortal with a god's soul, specifically Akatosh's, or at least a shard of his soul, depending on which way you want to swing it. Which means that if he conceptually destroyed the first flame, he would also be conceptually destroying disparity, which is then conceptually destroying him. It's just a full chain reaction. He ends himself. So that's one fun fact, right? Now, anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way because I know people are going to say, oh, but the soul of Akatosh would intervene and cause a dragon break and reset the fight. Okay, let's keep the ball rolling then, right? So, sorry, it's just that was a funny fact that whenever I looked into it, this was part of the reason why I believed that the Chosen Undead was going to be a specific nightmare for the Dragonborn, or just Elder Scrolls in general. The Chosen Undead is a specific type of nightmare. Now again, you can disagree with everything I say. I don't care. I'm just bringing you the information. I'm using Elder Scrolls' logic in this fight. I'm not using Dark Souls logic. I'm using Elder Scrolls logic in this fight. If the Dragonborn destroys the first flame, he destroys himself. Representation of disparity. It is the concept of disparity. You destroy yourself. I'm sorry. End of story. Right. Argue with that all you want, but that's where that sits. That's that specific argument out of the way. With that specific argument out of the way, now on to the actual Chosen Undead versus the Dragonborn argument. The Dragonborn has access to tonal architecture, right? It's quite simple, right? Tonal architecture is the theme, right? Now, here's what makes the Dragonborn as strong as he is. Because he has a shard of Akatosh, which is a dragon, dragons are hardwired for domination and authority, right? Their will is domination and authority, right? The entire point of the theme, it is an argument. It's like best way to put it, it's what I'm having in the comments right now. It is a debate. It is an argument. You're trying to impose your will on somebody else, right? That is what the theme is. Only it comes out as Fire Breath or Ben Will or Dragon Rend. It comes out as these things, so it does, right? And that's how the theme operates, right? The theme, specifically in the Dragonborn's case, has two major weaknesses, right? The first weakness, and this goes for all theme users, is the fact that the theme actually takes a toll on the body, right? So if you're repeatedly using incredibly powerful shouts, you will end up giving yourself a sore throat, not being able to speak. Again, the theme requires damn near perfection, right? And the second thing is the will itself, is the will of the Dragonborn or the will of Akatosh. These are the two one's a pure straight up weakness, is the fact that the Dragonborn is mortal. He is a mortal with the soul of a god, right? The key point there is he is a mortal, right? And then obviously the soul of the god. There's a lot of extra shit, but because he has the soul of the god, he can understand the dragon language much better and absorb dragon souls. That's perfectly fine, right? But the tonal architecture of it is the fact that there is repeated use of the theme can wear you down. he is not a superhuman by any stretch of the imagination. The Thum is what makes him superhuman. But repeated use of the Thum will weaken him over time. If he's consistent, and especially whenever we bring up the Chosen Undead, this is not a simple 1v1, this is a simple battle of attrition. So it is. And this is also the kind of the key crux to it all as well, but I'll explain that there once I get to it, right? But yes, the Dragonborn is, by every stretch of the imagination, exceptionally powerful. He is a reality warper. If he speaks something, reality listens, right? Because he's imposing his will upon the reality itself, right? Now, bringing this into consideration, we take in the Chosen Undead, right? Now, everybody believes the Chosen Undead is just a hoodoo blah. Who cares about the Chosen Undead whenever he's facing Elder Scrolls? The Chosen Undead is a specific type of nightmare, right? Because it doesn't turn into a battle of swords. In the beginning, it's not a battle of swords. In the beginning, it's a battle of wills, right? Because you have the Dragonborn who is granted, born with the soul of a god, with the will to dominate and demand authority, right? Whereas then you have the Chosen Undead who has lived for thousands of years, hundreds to thousands of years, right? Who never succumb to the holification or the corruption from humanity. So his will is pure persistence, right? He defies gods, he defies his fate, he defies everything, right? That's kind of the shtick with the Chosen Undead, it is persistence and defiance. So it is. And this is where the clash of wills comes together. Whose will is more superior? Because fun fact with the Thum actually has 3 recourses, right? So if your will is not greater, if the Dragonborn's will is not greater than its opponent's will, it can either fizzle, reflect, or lose all conceptual power. Did you catch that? The Thum has a weakness, which people don't seem to understand. The Thum does have a weakness, and it's the will of the caster. It's the will of the speaker. So it is. Because the Dragonborn has to have the will and the intention behind it. So it does. But if he clashes with somebody with an equal or more powerful will, he's fucked. Because then all of a sudden, because you have the Whiplash effect, which means that it's just going to reflect straight back at him, and he can't use the voice anymore. So that's one potential way. It can hit a wall, which is basically basically, right, so it can either fizzle out and reflect. That there's if the will is greater. It can be denied. The Thum can actually be denied if your will is great enough. As I said, it's like an argument. It's who has the firmer argument. So it is. And that is the entire point. If your will is strong enough, you can counteract the Thum. And if it's the one thing the Chosen Undead has in spades, is the willpower. He is the definition of unfucking breakable. He is the definition of raw, pure persistence. So he is. That's the entire shtick. That's the entire point of the Chosen Undead. He is pure persistence. His will to persevere. If anything, right? And this is how fucked this argument actually gets. If the Chosen Undead fights the Dragonborn, the Chosen Undead's will not degrade. It will actually get stronger. Because as he fights the Dragonborn, as it says, I'm not saying that this is a one and done fight. The Dragonborn has to overcome the Chosen Undead's immortality. The Dragonborn has to overcome the will of the Chosen Undead. But he is trying to overcome the will of somebody who has died countless times, who has survived in a jail cell while being eaten away by the dark sign and the humanity within him, because humanity has a corrupting effect. So you are trying to break the will of somebody who has survived thousands of years, hundreds or thousands of years under these conditions. That person's will is not going to bend or break easily. Even if you demand it of them, you're not going to be able to do it, because he is defiant. His will is defiant. So trying to bend him will not work initially. I don't think it'll generally work, because if you put them on an even stalemate, the Thu'um has, again, 3 options. It can fizzle, it can reflect, or it can lose all conceptual power. But again, going up against somebody who has the will like the Chosen Undead, what's going to happen? You have 3 options to choose from. All 3 options are bad. So they are. So, with the Thu'um negated, mostly, unrelenting force, shit like that there, like the actual physical impact might still work. But you're not going to be able to dust him immediately. You might be able to ragdoll him. Depends if he's wearing Havel's armor or he has Havel's shield. Again, he has the gear to kind of counteract. He is, again, it's kind of been my argument the entire time. He's kind of the hard counter to the whole shenanigans. As says, you have the Dragonborn's slow time, and you've got slow time, Stormcaller, and there's one more. There's one more. Whirlwind Sprint. That's it. Right? Chosen Undead has Tranquil Walk of Peace that will make you feel like you're walking in mud. Do you see what I mean, right? And then this leans to another thing, right? Is the fact that because the Chosen Undead defies fate, and he is just defiant in general, because he will not succumb to the dark side and go hollow, and he will not succumb to the humanity within him. Which means that he has the will and the mental fortitude to withstand the conceptual erasures that the Thu'um might hold. And that's a big point, so it is. Because you've effectively nerfed the Dragonborn just by existing. So you have. And that's a big point, so it is. Again, because I've broken down the Thu'um, right? But then I also find within the Elder Scrolls universe, there seems to be this rule of a rule for thee but not for me. So they make up rules for everybody else, but those same rules don't apply to you. That's not how this works. I'm playing by your rules. The rules that you set. So taking that into consideration, the Thu'um becomes useless. He can still cast Fire Breath. He can still Fire Breath, Ice Breath, Lightning Breath, whatever else. He can still cast his breaths. He can still cast Slow Time. But the actual will behind it needs to be stronger than the Chosen Undead's. And again, you're talking about somebody who has the will to defy gods. You're talking about the Chosen Undead who has defied gods, defied possibilities, defied the abyss. He has defied everything that has been thrown at him. The Dragonborn's no different. Then people will bring up the argument of, well, how does the Chosen Undead kill the Dragonborn? He has the tools. But again, a rule for thee, but not for me, seems to be the common architecture of it all. Right? Where people say Vow of Silence won't work on the Thu'um. It's a debate. But where Vow of Silence will work is on the magic that requires magic ka. Right? Because realistically speaking, Vow of Silence cancels out 3 types of magic. More hexes included if you go into the later ones, but for the meantime, we're focusing on the Chosen Undead, not the rest of Dark Souls, right? Can cancel out pyromancies, faith spells, miracles, and sorceries. All three of these things come from a different source. All of them do. All three of these things come from a different source. And the fact that Vial of Silence can negate all three of them means that Vial of Silence should be able to negate any casting ability that the Dragonborn has. So, you can't really argue with that argument, because if it can work on all three, it should work on the magic as well. Completely nullifying the magic side of things. As it says, with Tranquil Walk of Peace, you can nullify that. But then you also have the likes of Great Magic Barrier. If he does manage to get magic back online, you do have Great Magic Barrier. You have the likes of Havel's Shield. You have armor and stuff. Like it says, people need to remember that the elemental defenses are actually integrated into the armor and rings. That's another big thing as well. But whenever you come to combat, like actual sword on sword, whereas, yes, the Dragonborn has weapons to work with, they're not as many or as varied or as specialized as the Dragonborn or as the Chosen Undead has. So the Dragonborn has his weapons and the Chosen Undead has their weapons, but the Chosen Undead actually has more weapons. And the main weapons that I do want to bring up, there's technically 3 weapons, but 2 weapons are technically tied together. 2 weapons are technically the same idea. And then there's one other weapon, right? One weapon that he does have is entirely up to debate, and that being the Dark Hand. The ability to rip the humanity out of someone. Now, again, if the Dark Hand got a hold of the Dragonborn, we don't know what's going to happen, right? Because humanity is an item in Dark Souls, but it is fairy dust in Elder Scrolls. It's fairy dust, right? But the 2 main weapons that I do want to bring up is both Priscilla's Dagger as well as the Life Hunt Scythe. Because if we're going, and again, if I hear the rule, a rule for thee, but not for me again, I will fucking slap someone. Even though it's me that's fucking saying it, right? These 2 weapons have what's called the Life Hunt ability, right? These items are specifically designated through lore as divinity killers, right? So this would equal that if these 2 weapons are divinity killers, because I actually realize why Deathball didn't bring this up, is because if either of these weapons made contact with the Dragonborn, not only will the Dragonborn feel the damage, Akatosh will. Regardless, because again, rules. There's a shard of Akatosh inside of the Dragonborn, that shard will feel the pain too. And do you want to know what's surprisingly funny about this specific argument? Is the fact that the Dragonborn can feel pain. The Chosen Undead can too, but they're better at bearing it because they've died countless times. This is the exact reason to why Dragon Rend is completely and utterly useless. Dragon Rend is the most useless thum against the Chosen Undead. Dragon Rend makes you feel the concept of mortality. This is entirely useless against somebody who has lived and died countless times. Dragon Rend will have 0 effect conceptually, physically, mentally. Dragon Rend will have 0 effect on the Chosen Undead. Bend Will's another one that will have 0 effect. Because you're trying to bend something that strictly cannot be broken. Not just that there, you're trying to overpower somebody's will to live who has survived being spiritually eaten alive and staving off the corruption of humanity. We all seen what happened, Manus. That's the result. And then on top of that, there you've got the countless deaths. If anything, the chosen dead has the firmest sense of self ever. End of story. On top of that there, if you really do want to take in canon events, we know that the chosen undead linked the fire, which means the chosen undead succeeded, which means the chosen undead never fucking hollowed. End of story. So hollifying the chosen undead is an impossibility. Just want to put that out there. So we do, right? So with where we're currently standing, right? In a battle of wills, it's a draw. Well, we can classify it as a draw. With this being a draw, the chosen undead and Dragonborn come to a very interesting stalemate. So they do. The chosen undead and the Dragonborn are going to fight the bit out. Who is more martially skilled at fighting? The only answer is the chosen undead. End of story. When it comes to fighting, the chosen undead wins this hands down. In a fist-on-fist fight, chosen undead wins this. He is physically stronger, reactively faster, and movement speeds is roughly about the same speed as the Dragonborn if the Dragonborn is not using Whirlwind, Sprint, Stormcaller, or whatever else. Slow time as well. Right? It's as simple as that. There are many ways that the fight can go, but again, this comes down to a battle of attrition, right? But it's not a case of, it is a case of Dragonborn has to be perfect at all times or he dies, right? Because the entire prisoner thing is divine protection. So it is. This is divine protection. But with the Life Hunt Scythe wounding the shard that is inside of him, that divine protection I don't think is going to hold up too much longer. On top of that is the fact that the main question is whose will break first. People need to remember that one will was granted, one will was forged. It's as simple as that. It's the argument that I have. So it is. So, again, does the chosen undead completely clear the Dragonborn? No. It's going to take a couple of fights. But in the end up, in a war of attrition, which is exactly what the chosen undead is specifically designed to do, chosen undead wins. Chosen undead will win. Again, you can argue your point. What's the great one that was brought up? There was an specific shout. Soul Tear. Soul Tear is another one, right? Soul Tear has an interesting factor applied to it, but then you have to again apply which rules are we following, right? Because if we're playing by Dark Souls rules, if you use Soul Tear, okay, chosen undead's poor, right? But if we use Elder Scrolls' lore, Soul Tear still won't do shit. It's like streaming into a void. He's a hollow. He has no soul. So by both stretches of the imagination, by running by both rules, Soul Tear is another useless fucking shout. So, throughout all of this, we have discovered a few things. What have we discovered? Dragonborn, yes, while being a reality warping god, mortal god, the chosen undead is a specific type of nightmare for him. A specific type of nightmare. Because he has a will that will not bend. Because of this, because it's this one, right? Because I think I specifically stated to Hunter Smith, I found the linchpin to the entire argument. And that is will. Will is the entire argument. So it is. And I'm sorry, but I would say the Chosen Undead's will would come out to be slightly greater than what the Dragonborn's is. Because you have to remember, this will kept him alive for a millennia. This will stopped him from being corrupted. This will stop them from being devoured by the dark sign. This will has made him fight his way through Lordran and link the first flame. He has fought and killed other gods. Gods may not be as powerful as the Elder Scrolls. I'm not denying that. But it's the fact that a mortal did it. One immortal mortal did it. He can die, fight again, rinse and repeat. His entire factor is the fact that he is going to die, he is going to revive, and he is going to come back. His persistence more or less makes him a universal constant because his story is written. Thanks to Dark Souls 3, his story is written. You cannot argue the fact that the chosen undead escaped the asylum, rang the bells, killed Ornstein and Smough, got the Lord Vessel, got the 4 souls, killed Gwyn, and linked the flame. As well as defeating Manus, Calamite, and Artorias. Which is very impressive whenever you take a look at it from the Dark Souls view of things. So where does that bring us? In conclusion to this specific argument, the chosen undead in this scenario will beat the Dragonborn. Unless I am missing a key piece of information, but the entire point is will is the key. Because the theme is based on will. You have to impose your will on reality and everything around it for it to happen. But if you hit a wall, like the chosen undead, it means his will is either equal or greater than yours. So the entire linchpin to the argument was will. So it was. And this goes even further, might I add. Right? Because I went and I done a bit more research, so I did. Right? Now you have to, right? I done a bit, this does go further, and I done more research on it, right? And I decided to see, well, what else is there? So, the rest of Elder Scrolls, how does it stack up? Well, fun fact. Let's go through this piece by piece. The Elder Scroll can't do shit. Why can the Elder Scroll not do shit? The Dark Sign. The Dark Sign is a temporal anchor to reality. As long as the first flame exists, but we already know what happens if you destroy the first flame, it's a temporal anchor. Meaning he's in a fixed point in time. Which means that the chosen undead can't be modified. Because the chosen undead, if the Elder Scroll tries to send him to a different timeline, he's just going to respawn at the bonfire. So he is. He basically becomes the biggest nuisance. He's a glitch for an Elder Scroll. That's the best way to put it. He's a glitch for an Elder Scroll. The Elder Scroll can't unwrite his reality because of the temporal reactions. The Dark Sign basically makes him a universal constant. The Dark Sign locks him in place. So, yeah, Elder Scrolls out the door. So, Elder Scrolls. So, from where I'm sitting, Dragonborn has failed. The Elder Scroll has failed. So, who's next? See, this is where the fun part comes in, because I was going to bring up the Daedric Princes, but the fun thing with the Daedric Princes is, from what I can see and from what I've researched, a lot of them are just going to have a lot of fun with him, because he's an immortal being. Immortality is kind of an odd concept whenever it comes to the Elder Scrolls, because none of them really ever suffered death. So it's a fun concept to work with, so it is. But realistically, likely odds is all the Daedric Princes are going to do is try and trap him inside the realm. That's going to be a really bad idea, considering the Chosen Undead absorbs the souls of everything he kills. So, for example, if I stuck him in the Plane of Oblivion, or is it Dead Man's Lands, Mehrunes Dagon's Lands, he's just going to start absorbing all the souls of the Dremora. So he is the Clanfears, the Daedroths, the Spider Daedra. He's just going to absorb all the souls. And here's the thing though, right? Because here's a fun fact whenever it comes to this argument, is the fact that they are strictly an extension of the Daedric lore that they worship, are a part of. They are directly an extension of them. So leave the chosen undead in any of the Daedric realms, and it's only going to be a matter of time before the chosen undead has literally drank their fill. Literally, the chosen undead is a bottomless void. If he kills something, he takes their soul. So for every Daedra he kills, for every Dremora Dremora he kills, right? For every Dremora he kills, or every fucking fish thing from Hemeris Mora he kills, he's literally absorbing a piece of a Daedric Lord, or a Daedric Prince. He is strictly just absorbing a piece of it. So he is. So again, information, again, you can debate on that one how you see, but normally 9 times out of 10 they're going to just see the chosen undead as something to have fun with. If they decide that they're 9 times out of 10, that's going to end really goddamn badly. Yeah. Next on the menu is going to be the Chim. This being Vivek and Talos. So they're the 2 Chim users that are the 2 Chims. They are the Chim of the Elder Scrolls, right? But this gets really weird whenever it comes to the chosen undead, right? Because, right, so for you to be Chim, you have to be able to say that you exist within the universe. You exist within the dream. This makes you Chim, grants you lucid dreaming, right? So this requires a massive ego, a stable ego, but also a massive sense of self. Now, taking this into consideration, right? Whereas they have to have the most massive ego and stubborn ego, right? The chosen undead works kind of differently. And the reason why the chosen undead works differently is because the chosen undead suffers from hollowing, right? Now, again, regardless, he suffers from hollowing. Everybody knows this. He just doesn't go hollow, but he still suffers from the effects of hollification, right? Which is basically his soul, his mind, his identity, all of it being stripped away piece by piece every time he dies, right? But here's the thing though, right? Because realistically, as my notes have said, right, because there seems to be a bit of a conflict with this, because how do you delete something that is a walking void? Right? Because he's already being chipped away by something else, right? You're just trying to delete more of him. So you are. Because if you're trying to zero sum out of your universe, you're trying to make him lose his identity, right? But hollification kind of works as a strength to this. Because if you try, you're trying to speed up the effects of hollow. Because if you try to delete him, you have to make him lose his sense of self. He has already been dealing with this for 100 to 1,000 years. He's already had to deal with this effect. He has been dealing with this effect. So it's just not going... You're just speeding up the hollowing. So he's basically just being a pain in the ass to a Chim user, right? So if you're trying to delete him, that's normally what the effects ends up going to be, right? Another major point that I do need to bring up is the actual dark sign itself. The dark sign itself is a really, really bizarre, weird thing, right? Because the way that it works is the dark sign acts as a temporal anchor in the world, so it does, right? So what happens is so whenever he rests at a bonfire, that is a fixed point, right? Now, we have already discovered that you can't destroy the first flame, so bonfires are active. Bonfires are even active whenever the first flame fades. So bonfires are bonfires, end of story. Dark Souls 3's proved it. The Untended Graves, there's active bonfires. The flame has went out. End of story. So, flame or no flame, bonfires still work, right? From a temporal point of view, this is a fixed point in time, right? Because if you can go out into the world, slaughter everything. If you die and come back, you've reset the timeline. So even if somebody like Vivek or Talos yeeted him through time, it's not going to work because he's just going to respawn at the last bonfire that he was at. Getting rid of him is a damn near impossibility. Because as long as there's a bonfire, he's grand. Regardless of that, he's still just going to teleport back to whatever bonfire, even if he tracked 30,000 miles one direction. He's still going to teleport back. So he is. So that's another argument. So it is, right? Now, here's sort of where the big one comes in, right? Because the entire point of Chosen Undead is the will to try again, right? Canonically, we know he succeeds. So, argumentative point. So it is. But what's going to end up happening, and this is a really weird one because it's kind of funny, right? Because while the Chim user is like, I would say, right, this is the best way I put it. The way my notes have put it is the Chosen Undead to a Chim user would be an infuriation, so it would be, because you're constantly trying to delete something that will not delete. That's literally the point of it. You are consistently trying to delete something that simply will not delete. So you are. And that is a problem, right? Because if a Chim user is so focused on him, there is a chance that they might actually self-delete. So they will. They might end up zero-summing themselves. Because all it takes, right, genuinely all it takes for a Chim user to disappear is for their will to waver by waver for a millisecond. If they waver at all in their authority or their power or their ego, if they waver at all, if a question enters their mind, they will just zero-sum themselves. So they will. End of story. And lastly, and probably the biggest one, the brass god himself, the Nummendinium. This one, I found some very interesting shenanigans that apply to this one, right? So, with all of the research that I've had through the Dragonborn, the Elder Scrolls, the Chim, the Nummendinium is sort of the big bad fuck you, basically. The Nummendinium is the big bad no button, so it is. It is the one thing that can royally mess you up. It is the one thing that can erase you from reality. Your ancestors, everything tied to you is gone. Right? This is the level. Timelines, everything that you exist in, gone. If the Nummendinium says you do not exist, you do not fucking exist. End of story. You don't exist. You have never existed, and you will never exist. This is the power of the Nummendinium. Basically, something that is so goddamn powerful that if it was placed into any other universe, that's a lie, actually, because if I've brought up anything, I've brought up, like, the biggest fucking weakness of the Elder Scrolls. God damn it. Right, so, let's just get into the Nummendinium. Does the Nummendinium delete the Chosen Undead? No, it does not, because it can't, right? The Nummendinium is the entire point, right? The Nummendinium denies your existence. So it does. It denies that you ever existed, right? The Chosen Undead is so dogged, persistent, just absolutely unwavering, right? So he is. It's actually funny, right? Because from my notes and from what I found, right? I genuinely found this to happen, right? I actually found that the Chosen Undead is actually the most natural character with the actual lore to back it up. He is the actual character that is the most certified to obtain Chim, so he is. Because the brass god would shout no at the chosen undead. You do not exist, right? The chosen undead will simply reply, I am and have always been. The reason why is because even after all this time, having the humanity try to corrupt him and the dark side trying to eat away at him, he still has the most firm sense of self that anybody else has. So he is. He is the most firm sense of self. So he is. He wouldn't just be able to fend off the Nummendinium, he would ascend past the Nummendinium. So he would. This is the level of power that I keep trying to give to people, but people seem to think that I am a fucking idiot. The Chosen Undead has the best resume in fiction to deal with the Nummendinium, right? The Nummendinium would simply try to delete him, but considering he has the persistent will to exist through the dark side and humanity, he is still is who he is, and he has always been that way, or he probably eventually developed into being that way, but if he wasn't always that way, then the dark side would have corrupted him, or the humanity would have corrupted him. So his dogged will and persistence would actually help him become a Chim. That is literally one step away from the Godhead. So it is. That is literally one step away from the Godhead. So from being apparently the fucking weakest, he is literally the most qualified fucking character to achieve the stage of Chim. And I have used your rules to do it. So, in blatant conclusion, right? In just full-on conclusion, the Chosen Undead is a nightmare for the Elder Scrolls. And my point of reference is the fact that I used the Elder Scrolls' rules to do it. Not only did I find the weakness, I have also found the one person that can do it. Oh, one person. Oh, sorry, I made a big mistake. There is many characters that can do it. I brought up the Doomslayer, right? Now, again, because apparently for some unknown fucking reason, people don't listen to me, I had brought up the Doomslayer, right? Now, again, the Doomslayer fucking sweeps, so he does, right? The Doomslayer fucking sweeps. And I'm going to find the comment that delegates that exact piece of information that I need. Because apparently people like to deny factual fucking information. Right, give me 2 seconds till I find this fucking argument. Because again, I have to deal with this in such a fashion that makes it even more annoying to deal with. Because apparently factual information is a bit of an argument, so it is. Apparently facts aren't facts, right? And whenever facts aren't facts, shit goes sideways real quick, so it does. Shit goes way sideways, right? I think I found it here, so it did, right? Because I says the Doomslayer sweeps, right? Now, I listed a set of facts that is factual, by the way, from the fucking person's own mouth, to why the Doomslayer sweeps. Right? Number 1. Can't be killed by anything other than another primeval. Other primevals do not exist within the Elder Scrolls verse, which means that he is fundamentally untouchable. Immune to all corruption. He spent eons in fucking hell slaughtering them. Hell is a realm that is designed to corrupt you in every way, shape and form. And guess what? The Doomslayer didn't corrupt even before he entered the Divinity Machine, which means that he most certainly isn't going to corrupt after the Divinity Machine. He gets stronger the more he kills, which means that if he goes off on a tirade inside of Elder Scrolls, there ain't fuck all that's going to stop him. Has fought whenever he's fighting stronger opponents, he then scales to those opponents. So he does. He is probably the three most powerful weapons, three of the strongest weapons in fiction. You have the BFG 9000, you have the Unmaker, and you have the Crucible. These three weapons, well, BFG is just a big fucking gun, but the Unmaker and Crucible are basically narrative rewrites. Okay? Absorbs the souls of everything that he kills, can move. Sorry, but from the book, he is known to be moving faster than light. Depending on which way you want to take that however you want to put it. And is strong enough to fight an immortal demon titan with his bare hands. And then the last one that I really do want to bring up is he is a universal constant. Which means that no matter what happens, he will always fucking exist. You can't stop the Doomslayer. If the Doomslayer enters the Elder Scrolls with the intent to destroy the Elder Scrolls, he succeeds. He has managed to survive eons in hell on brute force and will alone. He is rage made manifest. He is nothing but a killing machine. If he has a goal, that goal gets achieved. It's like picking a stick and throwing it at someone. If he is the stick, he is the weapon. There is nothing stopping him. Death doesn't stop him because you can't kill him. There is nothing within the Elder Scrolls that is going to stop him. And if you're about to tell me that a God's will be able to overpower him, not a hope in almighty goddamn hell is that ever going to happen. He survived a millennia in hell trying to corrupt him. His will is uncorruptible. His will is unbreakable. Remember whenever I said that the argument, the linchpin to the entire Elder Scrolls argument is will? This is the point that I'm trying to make. I hope I got that across. Okay? The Doomslayer sweeps. There is nothing within Elder Scrolls that can stop him. You put the Dragonborn up against him, he's a dead man, right? You try to use an Elder Scroll on him, he is a fixed point. He cannot be changed. If you try to give him to the Daedric Princes are going to die as well. Because he's going to kill his way through every single plane of oblivion, absorbing every single soul that he comes across. And guess what that means? It means that eventually he's going to break free of that realm and go into the next realm and continue the killing spree. He will fundamentally make the concept of a Daedric Prince null. So he will, because he will absorb the souls of everything that he kills. Just so happens to be those things that he are killing are extensions of the Daedric Prince. So if he absorbs them, then that means that they're not being funneled back into the prince itself, which means that the prince is just going to gradually grow weaker and weaker until he has completely and utterly killed it. On top of that, there you have the Unmaker as well, which is just unmakes shit. It's basically the magical eraser of the Doom universe. If you point it at something, that thing it unmakes it. It doesn't exist anymore. And then on top of that, there he is more than qualified to achieve Chim, which means that the Nummendinium is going to fall before the Doomslayer. I am sorry, he is a universal constant, which means that the Doomslayer will not be affected. On top of that, there, if you really want to put it, right, Doomslayer, because he's a primeval, now predates the concept. Because he's a primeval, because the way that it works is primeval, gods, mortals. He is a divine level higher than that. So anything that the Elder Scrolls has is basically turned null and void. The Doomslayer cannot be stopped. Actually, that's a lie. There's a handful of specific characters that could stop him. But then people are going to argue with me even more about it, and I'm not bringing in more arguments at this stage, because at this stage, I think I've made my point exceptionally clear. So, to everybody who fanatically denies everything that I apparently fucking say, I have officially went and used your own rules against you. I have found the linchpin to the Elder Scrolls argument. Any character that has a will stronger than a god is more than likely going to cleave the Elder Scrolls in two. Anybody who has specific universal protections, aka Doomslayer, is going to destroy the Elder Scrolls. I have tested a lot of things. I have asked a lot of questions. There are certain characters that will make it past the Dovahkiin, but will not make it past the Chim. There is characters that will blow straight past the Chim, and now wait there, hold fire, right? Because this is good. I'm actually just going to lean back and explain why the Doomslayer will always defeat the Elder Scrolls, right? Because once the Doomslayer has created enough havoc, I'm pretty sure the Godhead's going to wake up. Which means that the Elder Scrolls, this seems to be the ultimate cop-out, by the way, to why the Elder Scrolls is the strongest. This seems to be the most ultimate cop-out, right? If you are inside the dream of the Godhead, which is where the Elder Scrolls universe exists, and the Godhead wakes up, everything that is inside that universe ceases to exist because it's a dream and the person dreaming it has woken up. Right? We understand this? Yes? Right. The Doomslayer is a universal constant. If the Godhead wakes up, then the Doomslayer is just floating in space somewhere. So in the end up, what ends up happening is the Doomslayer is still alive, but the Elder Scrolls universe ceases to exist. I really do hope I made that very clear. Because I did. I feel like I have now officially over-explained myself. So I do. I feel like I've now officially over-explained myself. But the linchpin to the entire argument is will. If your character's will is stronger, then the argument becomes null and void. So, and it's so funny to me because I'm trying to figure out, like, I know this is going to cause a massive uproar, right? I know this is going to cause an argument of metaphysical proportions. I think I've said enough. I think I've made my point exceptionally clear. I have used the rules given to me by the Elder Scrolls. I have then used them rules to break them rules. So I have. So I have a feeling that I'm going to get fucking torched in the comments. Because I have now officially handed Elder Scrolls the biggest fucking L they have ever seen. I have now officially handed Elder Scrolls their biggest fucking L. Why am I the person to do this? Because I've went through every debate. I've went through every argument. I have broken down every piece. I have deconstructed the puzzle and put it back together again. All the information I have gained is for this moment. So it is. I have now, I will say to myself, as is, the comment section may say different, but from where I am sitting, I believe I have handed the Elder Scrolls the biggest L they have ever seen, because I have found the linchpin to their argument, and once that linchpin is pulled, all of a sudden that dam will collapse. Because all of a sudden everybody's going to be saying, what the fuck, who's next? So yeah, I'll leave you with that, guys. Remember, guys, not everything goes to plan. Please like, share and subscribe if you didn't enjoy. Remember, guys, not everything goes to plan. Evidently. Bye. Sorry, one final joke I have to make. The dude, Hunter Smith, basically demanded that I concede defeat. He says I am basically I'm an arrogant egomaniac. Means it must be very easy for me to achieve Chim.